a stone, a commemorative plaque for victims of terrorism against Israelis. He did that as well. But I must say that the very symbolic stop at the wall leading into Bethlehem got people talking. It was a spontaneous act, and you can even tell when you watch the film footage again. He's noted for doing spontaneous things.
Thank you. I think it pretty well answers that question. Staying in the same region, this is a question about the Middle East. Given that sacramental sharing between Catholics and Orthodox continued in places until the 16th century as a proof of no true schism, and as ecumenism we are told is based on relationships rather than theological agreements, how should we understand the intercommunal or at times sacramental unity among Middle Eastern Christian communities?
Thus, the communion continued to the 17th century, not just the 16th century. It seems to me that there was a freezing in the 18th century because of the schism in the Patriarchate of Antioch in 1724, and that frightened the Orthodox when they found that they'd lost a large part of their flock. And then you get in 1755 the declaration by the Ecumenical Patriarchate and the other Orthodox patriarchs that Roman Catholics must be received by rebaptism. And that decree is not applied today, but it's never been withdrawn. However, in the Near East, I think intermarriage has always continued, especially in a country like Lebanon. How far there is Eucharistic intercommunion, I don't know.
My experience teaching at Kulliyat Baghdad in Iraq, way back before most of you were born, was that Christians, baptized Christians of the various Eastern traditions, not exclusively the Orthodox tradition, but also the Armenian tradition and so forth, would come to Eucharistic liturgies in our chapel. And we did not encourage or invite or anything with them, but we also didn't put up any roadblocks. And if they approached the sacraments according to their conscience, then there was no attempt to encourage them to do that or to discourage them or forbid them from doing it. I don't know if that kind of situation existed elsewhere, but I suspect it probably did.
I lived in Jerusalem for 4.5 years for my graduate work when I was at the École Biblique, and had much to do with the Christian communities. Granted, I'm Roman Catholic. It's interesting how you experience the different denominations there. They would say, Latin, you're Latin. No, I'm Roman Catholic, but that's the Roman Catholic. And then Rum Catholic were for the Orthodox. And very clear, distinct parish communities. Intermarriage often took place from those different Christian communities. In terms of Eucharistic sharing or participation in the Eucharist, I remember being at different weddings of families. Some partook of the Eucharist, some didn't. I never found a minister, a patriarch, anybody putting up a wall, nor did I find it encouraged specifically. What I do find happening now, because I served on the board of Bethlehem University for several years, and there is a perfect example of all of the denominations coming together, and then Christian and Muslim coming together too. It's really a little oasis of peace and of what can be. The persecution of Christians right now in the Middle East is bringing the Christians together. any small divisions that existed in terms of liturgical practice or whatever. There's really a unified front that's developing among the local Christian communities. I remember the Christian community of Malula in Syria, the last place where Aramaic was spoken, which has pretty much been wiped out now, and all of it. I was in Lebanon last summer in the refugee camps and listening to some of the stories where the Christians have come together and are clearly working together. And I think it's going to be the question of persecution, of massive suffering, of the response to the suffering that's going to be a different form of ecumenism by necessity. And Caritas, for example, is a great agent in that right now, in that very troubled part of the world.
If I could just follow up on the ecumenism and necessity that you mentioned, thinking of my own church, Romanian Greek Catholic Church, depending on circumstances, has looked to it. If you think, for instance, the Middle Eastern Christianity, and I sort of rediscovered my own church even outside the Middle East. The walls between us and the Romanian churches have been sometimes more porous, sometimes firmer, but always kind of different from the kind of warmth and camaraderie and fraternity that exists among the Eastern communities, in particular, as I experienced it. But it reminded me of something, and I'm glad I had the chance to bring it up. The Metropolitan John of Pergamon, Zula, spoke this morning, calling Father George Borowski, who called the premier Orthodox theologian of the last century, three kinds of ecumenism. Ecumenism in time, which has to do with the study of documents, the history of the church, theologians get together with bishops, and ecumenism in space, which is what happens such as here, and the World Council of Churches, where Christians are brought together for Christian consensus. And then he talks about existentialism, which has to do with facing existential questions about life, very much in the line of Laudato. And in this connection, he talks about a threat to the planet as something that Christians must face together, just as Pope Francis has talked about ecumenism as well. So I've always been convinced, just through my experience, that in a sense, a recognition of our need on the one hand and our mutual powerlessness on the other, to do that is what makes it successful.
The next question I think is
Research about the number of evangelicals and Pentecostals in the world today. I suspect that people are looking for a feel-good church, hence the shift in the demographics. Your comments, please.
To some degree, that's true. We have the whole debate that's out there now on religious but not spiritual, or spiritual but not religious. The interesting thing I find is many who are claiming to be religious have no spirituality, and those who are spiritual don't know what it means to belong to a community. And then you have this other group that will follow some of the great experts that are proposing happiness and peacefulness and unity with creation through yoga and all of the wrong sense. Like the ecological movement is a perfect example of that. And I think what the Pope is doing through this encyclical that's being widely embraced is saying there has to be a profound sense of religion, religiosity, and spiritual communion if we're going to bring some kind of healing to the planet. So it's not falling in love with trees for the sake of the trees, but for the greater picture. Some of those statistics are true. The old Protestant churches are suffering terribly. And the old Catholic churches, I don't mean old Catholic, but the older Catholic churches, this was very obvious at the Synod of Bishops. The bishops, particularly at the Synod of the New Evangelization, the first 6 days of the Synod of the New Evangelization were clearly an invitation to massive depression. When you listen to the patriarchs and the bishops and the cardinals of Western Europe speaking, and it really was a deadly image that was being portrayed. Churches closed, churches empty, paganism, new paganism, and it was the bishops of Asia, some of Africa and Latin America, who gave the necessary jolt to wake us up out of that. And they talked about the churches that have functioned through structure, not changing, that we're not experiencing growth. So it's an interesting dynamic also among the Protestant churches. It came up again at the Synod last year, where the first couple days in the small language groups, the bishops of Western Europe said, you people are carrying on about communion for the divorced and remarried and the necessity of annulments. He said, it's not a problem for us because people aren't getting married. And so there's no children. So our big issue is euthanasia. And it changes the whole focus. With the Protestant churches, the older Protestant churches, if you look at the face of the denominations, look at the congregations. I studied in Germany as well. I went to the Evangelische Church many times because I like the music. I saw nobody under 40 years old in those communities. And it's an older group, very lovely, warm people, but somehow they've lost that connection. So I think it's a very complex thing. It's not just a matter of feeling and emotion, but really God has been put off to the margins, and we don't need God except in times of crisis and emergency.
There is no Christianity